Hi, welcome to the Macabre Emporium.
Let me get my emotional support cat.
Okay.
To be quiet and keep the kids quiet, since he was getting anxiety and he didn't want to kill children.
Gertrude's daughter even got to join in on what they considered fun.
Tell us about the giant turtle.
Alan never showed up, nor was he ever heard from again beyond that point. Welcome back to Macabre Emporium. We are on episode 18.
Yeah, we're finally legal.
Oh, yeah,
Took you a second there, huh?
sure did.
But anyhow. And if this is your first time joining us, welcome. But yes, episode 18. We're finally legal beagles, I guess you could say.
Legal beagles.
The Macabre Emporium can now buy cigarettes and lottery tickets and smoke. Wait, no, they can't smoke anymore. That's right, they changed the law.
What is it now?
It's 21 now.
For real?
Yeah, that's why you can't go to vape shops unless you're 21 now.
Oh, I'd never really paid attention to it, I guess.
You're old. But I
And
know
right
not-
after you fuck off, let's talk about the fun things that we've done this week.
the fun things this week.
Yeah.
All right. So what fun things have we done this week?
I got a new tattoo.
Yep, you did. Yeah,
Is very fresh. You got to witness thunder snow.
for the second time in my life.
Yeah. There's probably people like me that had no clue what the fuck thunder snow
Right.
is, so break it down, meteorologist Dave.
I was not ready for this to actually break it down how it happens, but it's a weird weather phenomenon that happens. That's it. People think it's part of global warming. No, it's been happening for years.
But what is thunder snow? What happens in thunder snow?
Thunder snow is just like lightning and thunder during a thunderstorm. It just in blizzard type conditions.
Correct. It's strange.
Yep. And if you've never seen it before, it will trip you out for the first time you've ever seen it.
Yeah. So, for those of us working folks, Friday was Employee Appreciation Day. Mm-hmm. You got something pretty cool.
I got a lunchbox from, well, not a lunchbox, a lunch container from my employer.
Full of snacks. And it happened to have his favorite snack in there.
Yep.
And they didn't even know they were doing it.
Nope.
What'd they give you?
My favorite snack that was in there?
Everything.
Well, fuck, I hate most of it at work, so I don't really remember what's all in there.
You don't remember what you ate?
I remember the Kit Kat bar because that was like the number one thing that was in there, and then the fun size pack of M&Ms, and the double pack of orange Starburst. So I just kept on going. I don't care what anybody sells. I like the orange Starbursts.
You do?
Yep.
Oh.
So yeah, I was happy that I got double orange.
Red or pink for me?
And at least I'm not a weirdo that likes the yellow one is probably a fucking serial killer. It might end up on our show if you like yellow ones. But anyway.
Maybe.
Oh, and then of course the manly, what did you call them when I was eating them? The fruit snacks.
Super manly fruit snacks.
Yeah, super manly fruit snacks.
He was sitting in his computer with, like, you gotta understand, he's 6'5", he's a very big dude, okay? And he's sitting over there with, and it's like a mini-sized package. So this tiny little package looks like a fucking business card in his giant-ass hand. And he's just daintily, like, grabbing one and shoving it in his face.
Well, yeah, I'm not.
It's just like they are super manly.
If I would have ate them like any other way, and like stuffed the whole pack in my mouth, they would have been gone like immediately. What fun would have that been?
It's because it was a small pack. It had like 5 in there.
There might have been 7. Who knows? Maybe miscounted when they packaged it.
Could be.
But anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
oddly enough, one of the games that I've been playing recently, that Western game, goes along with this week's theme for the most part.
Oh, yes, it do.
So what is it you're going to be talking about this week, Sarah?
So this week I am talking about a outlaw, a very gentlemanly outlaw.
Gentleman Outlaw.
Yes.
That sounds odd.
Yes. No violence to be spoke of. I know I do true crime, but true crime isn't always just there was a pile of bodies on the floor
Right.
and they were covered in blood.
Right.
So still true crime.
I
Just
mean, I did that with Tony Kurtz's for the most part, but
Yeah.
anyhow.
yeah. So that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm not giving too much away, but it's an interesting listen.
All right.
What are you talking about?
Well, as always, even though I said I would do true crime, wanted to do more. Mm-hmm. I'm doing, shocker, history / origins of some sort.
No.
Right. And something that goes along with the Wild West theme that's very synonymous with it, you could say it's about as American as apple pie, is the snake oil / medicine shows.
Oh.
Because most of the time you see them in old Western type movies for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I chose to do this week.
Nice. I'll be interested in hearing this one.
Okay.
Okay.
So, are you ready to get started then?
Yes. So, in the present time, like, if a bank was to fuck you over, make an error, whatever, they're usually pretty quick to rectify that.
Right.
And fix whatever the issue was. Back in the, like, early to mid 1800s, not such a thing. Basically, you were just stuck living with it and, you know, stuck with the loss of whatever,
Right.
you know, became from the issue. But not for one person by the name of Charles E. Bowles and his issues with Wells Fargo.
Okay.
Which, you know, the Wells Fargo, still
Right.
around. Charles was born in 1829 to Maria and John Bowles in Norfolk, England. He was the third child out of a whopping 10. Daddy needed to give mommy a fucking break.
Well, you also had to think during those times you had a lot of children because of being on farms. You needed a lot of people to do work. So best way to get people to do the work is to have a bunch of kids. That's why you see a lot of the older black and white photos of these like farm families with 6, 7, 10, whatever, 100,000 kids that they have. It's because you need farm hands. You make your own farm hands for the most part.
So you just breed your employees.
Pretty much is what they were doing.
Sweet. Oh, man. When Charles was 2 years old, his family packed up and left England and immigrated to the States. They settled in Jefferson County in New York, where his father had purchased a nearly 100-acre farm. That's a lot of land.
Mm-hmm. See, that's why they had 10 kids.
He was decently educated and knew how to read. He had also liked to be outside playing sports. He worked incredibly hard on the farm, but he and a couple of his brothers grew tired of it and chose to leave.
Okay.
In 1849, they seemed to be your typical and ordinary New Yorkers, and like many others at this time, 20-year-old Charles, his brothers David and Robert, would go on to take part in the California Gold Rush in the early 1850s. Here they would be prospecting in the North Fork of the American River near Sacramento.
Okay.
This was a tough time for these guys. They didn't have much success at mining. And two of the brothers that went along with Charles wound up dying after falling ill with, I don't know, because I couldn't find out what they had.
Probably like dysentery or something, or...
Oh, brings me back to the Oregon Trail.
Yep.
Charles would wind up going back to New York in 1852, but he didn't stay long, and he went running back to California shortly after. He mined for gold for another 2 years before he went to Illinois and married a woman named Mary Elizabeth Johnson in 1854. By 1860, the couple had 4 children and resided in Decatur, Illinois. 2 years later, at the age of 33, in 1862, Charles enlisted as a private in the 116th Illinois Regiment. He even took part in Sherman's March to the Sea. I tried to find out what that was.
If I remember correctly, Sherman's March to the Sea was during the Civil War, where the Union soldiers basically burned everything to the ground that they came across.
Okay.
Like, it was...
I mean, it sounds right for the time.
Like, when I say literally everything, every building, everything that the Confederate Army can use as a resource, they destroyed it.
Damn. He became a first sergeant within a year, but was badly injured in the Battle of Vicksburg. On June 7th, 1865, after 3 years of service, Charles was discharged, and he soon returned home to Illinois to be with his family. He spent the next several years in Illinois, farming with his family, but decided, yet again, he wanted to search for gold. There isn't a lot of documented history here until a letter addressed to his wife came in. It told of how he had an incredibly unpleasant experience with a couple of Wells Fargo agents, and how it changed his life. From my research, I was able to find that he was mining with a friend in Montana, and somewhere along the line, numerous men from Wells Fargo came by and tried to buy them out of that area.
Okay.
But Charles and his friend refused, and Wells Fargo, the potential buyers, cut off their water supply, which forced them to abandon the mine.
Right.
So, in essence, they got what they wanted.
Right.
Charles vowed he would get his revenge against them, which in turn led him to a life of crime. He would ultimately become one of the most notorious stagecoach robbers in Northern California as well as Southern Oregon during the 1870s and 1880s. Mary would never hear from Charles again. She would later be told by a third party that there had been a rumor floating around that him and the men that he was with at the time were all killed by Indians.
Which was probably the most common thing that happened during the gold rush time, other than being strung down out of your land by the bank, obviously. Like,
right.
They were.
So with that rumor and no proof otherwise, she believed he was.
Right.
I mean, you don't hear from him for who knows how long.
Yeah.
And then somebody's like got information, and that's, you're going to take it. It's the first thing you've heard about them. So when Charles settled down in California, he chose to stay in San Francisco and under the name of Charles Bolton. He was in his 50s by now. He stood 5'8", so he wasn't really a big guy. He's said to have like blue-gray eyes and a wiry, like brushy mustache.
Yeah, like the Walter Brimley mustache for the most part, but dapper as fuck probably.
I don't know who Walter Brimley is.
The Mr. Diabetes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Yep. You'll see in pictures anyways. He lived his life there without his family as a very polite socialite. He would tell his rich friends that he owned a mine. He lived at Webb's Hotel wearing nothing but the finest clothing and dining at nothing but the absolute best restaurants that San Francisco had to offer. So, as of this point, he's literally living far beyond his means.
Right.
So he did not own a mine at that time because, Wells Fargo took it. He was the poster boy for what you'd expect to see in an established, sophisticated, and polished man of the world. However, it wouldn't be long before the facade would end and people would realize he wasn't as well-rounded as he wanted everyone to believe he was. But then again, he kind of was.
Right.
So, in the beginning of his career of crime, he chose the nickname Black Bart. Black Bart would go on and continually rob Wells Fargo stagecoaches.
Did he only specifically go after Wells Fargo stagecoaches, or it did not matter?
Nope. Only Wells Fargo.
Oh, okay.
Yep. This happened at least 28 times across Northern California and Southern Oregon between 1875 and 1883. There were two of his robberies that made him kind of famous, and this is what would set off his his signature, basically. Okay. So he left two poems. One at the 4th robbery spot, and the second one would be at the 5th robbery spot. So only 2 poems left out of 28 robberies. But this is like his signature.
Did he find out why he left these 2 poems in particular, or?
I'll get to those later on. I actually have the poems to read to you.
Okay. Well, talk about holding the fucking grudge. 28 stagecoaches from one fucking company.
Right. Well, I mean, not only did they take his property, forced him off of it, like they cut his water off to force him out of the property. I'd be pissed too.
Yeah. Ultimate Karen almost.
Word with a crazy stash. So yes, like I said, those 2 poems being left behind out of the 28 robberies, that became his signature. It ensured his fame, even though it was only twice.
Right.
Black Bart would be a very successful robber. He took in thousands of dollars per year, and in total, he was able to take $18,000 over the span of his crimes. So, I used your handy dandy,
Inflation calculator.
fuck yeah, to see what it would be in today's money.
Right.
So in total, $18,000. In today's money, that is $566,848.42.
I figured that'd almost be like around $1 million compared to today, but
I mean, it's
and I mean,
still a lot of money.
It's still a lot of money, but I figured we like wouldn't be. I wasn't expecting to be like, oh, $12 million and 93 cents or anything. No, I was expecting that was like at least $1 million is what I was expecting it to come out to be, or very close to it. But
nope. Oh, I mean, almost $600,000.
right, but I was meaning like 800,000, 900,000
Nah.
is what I mean by.
It's still a
closer
pretty
to $1
good
million.
chunk of money.
It is.
But yeah, with Black Bart's polite demeanor, he gained notoriety. He reportedly never once fired a weapon, never once killed another person. He was polite. He used no foul language, even though one of his poems contains the word bitches. Again, this would go on to be his trademark. They called him the gentleman outlaw. Yeah. So we're going to get into the crimes now.
Okay.
On July 26th, 1875, Charles robbed his first stagecoach in Calaveras County, California. This happened between Copperopolis and Milton. He was wearing a long cloth duster with a flour sack over his head with eye holes cut out. He jumped out from behind a boulder, and it's said that he spoke very politely with a really deep voice and ordered the driver, John Shine, to throw down the box.
So he was like driving stagecoaches as an early version of Batman using the gravelly voice. To hide his true identity.
But dapper as fuck while he did it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Shine did as asked and handed over the strong box. Charles shouted, "If he dares to shoot, give him a solid volley, boys." Shine saw all of the rifle barrels poking out from the bushes, so he did as he was told. There was even a woman on the stagecoach that offered up her purse, to which Black Bart declined and stated he only wanted the Wells Fargo strongbox.
That sounds very reminiscent of John Dillinger saying about the farmer that tried to hand his money over and it said, "I don't want your money, I just want the bank's money."
Shine then waited until Charles disappeared before examining the area. He found that the men with rifles were actually just sticks that Black Bart had stuck into the bushes, like, perfectly, because from a distance they looked like the barrel of a gun. His second robbery would take place on December 28th, 1875. He had stopped the stagecoach on its way from North San Juan to Marysville, California. As with the first robbery, other men had been said to be hiding in the bushes. But we know from this point on, there are no men in bushes, there are sticks in bushes.
Right. Who would have thought? Sticks and bushes. Crazy thought.
Well executed sticks. On June 2nd, 1876, Black Bart robbed another stagecoach and took only the Wells Fargo box and mail this time. He took the mail that was in there. And this happened like 5 miles north of Cottonwood, California. Black Bart's fourth robbery was on August 3rd, 1877, on a trail from Point Arena to Duncan Mills, California. This was the very first time he identified himself as a poet. He stopped the stagecoach between Point Arena and Duncan's Mill, California. He was wearing the same type of clothing he had previously worn in all the others that are documented. He broke into the strongbox and took off with the $300 that was inside. This time, he left behind a poem. You're going to love this.
Okay.
You're going to love this. So it says, "I've labored long and hard for bread, for honor, and for riches. But on my corns too long you've tread, you fine-haired sons of bitches."
I was like, there once was a robber from Nantucket. But it's like, no, I'll wait till she's over before I say it.
Nope. And he signed it Black Bart dash the P08. No clue what the P08 is.
Like, is
I could not
eight?
find, yes, P08.
Okay.
Could not find what the fuck that meant. I tried real hard and I couldn't figure it out. So a little over... Huh?
P08, the poet. P08, the poet.
Oh my god, is that what it is?
That'd be my guess.
Fuck my life. All right, so a little over a year later, on July 25th, 1878, Black Bart struck again. This time on a stretch between Quincy and Oroville, California. With this being his 5th robbery, it would also be the last one where he left a poem. This one said, "Here I lay me down to sleep, to await the coming morrow. Perhaps success, perhaps defeat, and everlasting sorrow. Let me come what will, I'll try it on. My condition can't be worse. And if there's money in that box, 'tis money in my purse."
Well, purse wasn't used as it is today.
Right.
So.
And again, he signed it Black Bart, the P08. I'm really pissed if it's the poet.
I'll have to look at that later for you.
Damn. That wasn't even a thought.
Because I was just...
blip on my radar.
Because I was just thinking, even though, he was illiterate, he could obviously write and everything, that maybe just to have fun, he just, instead of writing the word poet correctly, he just threw the 8 in there just to mess with anyone, throw him off his trail or whatever, who knows.
Bushy stashed sons of bitches.
Yeah.
Even though this was the last poem, his signature robberies would continue on through November of 1883. On November 3rd, 1883, he went back to the same area from his first robbery. He found the stagecoach, which was driven by Reason McConnell. Have you ever heard of anybody named Reason?
No.
I thought it was kind of cool. Anyways, the stagecoach just had...
Well, maybe Hoobastink did because of the reason.
Oh, God. The stagecoach had only one passenger named Jimmy Roleri. When the coach slowed down to ascend the hill, Jimmy jumped off in hopes of doing a little hunting. But just before the coach came to the top of the hill, Black Bart appeared out of the bushes and ordered McConnell to throw the strong box down. Unfortunately, this time the box had been bolted to the floor of the stagecoach.
Well, yeah, because, after how many at this point?
Well, this is his last one, so this would have been number 28.
Well, after the first 27, they finally get smart to keep the box from going anywhere.
Yes. So as you can expect, this was definitely something that Black Bart was not prepared for or ready to deal with. He was expecting just a grab and go, basically.
As he's done 27 times previous.
Mm-hmm. He ordered McConnell to unhitch from the coach and to take Jimmy over the hill. All the while, he was in the coach working to free the strong box, or at least bust it open with the axe that he had with him.
Mm-hmm.
He was successful and made off with mail. Why he took the mail, I don't know. As well as a heavy sack of gold. Jimmy then appeared out of the bushes and fired 2 shots at Black Bart, and...
His army of sticks failed to shoot back.
Yeah, they did. And he tried to flee, and then McConnell fired off 2 more shots, one of which hit Black Bart in the hand, forcing him to drop the mail. But he was still able to get away with the sack of gold. Though he made his getaway, he had also dropped his glasses, some food, and a handkerchief that had a laundry mark of FX07 on it as he fled. And on the handkerchief, with that laundry mark, do you know what a laundry mark is?
Not exactly.
So I guess back then, when people tailored their clothes, the launderers would, just put a mark in them stating, a number, letter combination to identify those clothing pieces go with this person.
Oh, okay.
Like coat checks.
Right.
Like that. You'd get your ticket, they'd put it on a hanger with the same number, except they just put a mark on the inside of the clothing. And because of that laundry mark, that would be the end of Black Bart. Wells Fargo detectives James B. Hume and Harry N. Morse were able to use the handkerchief to track him to the laundry houses in San Francisco and then ultimately directly to him. Detectives learned that Charles Bowles took a lot of business trips that just so happened to coincide with each and every one of the Wells Fargo stagecoach robberies.
No, it's just a pure coincidence. What are they talking about?
Yeah. He initially denied that he was Black Bart when the law caught up to him. However, he ended up admitting to everything but only confessed to the crimes prior to 1879. Care to guess why?
Statute of limitations.
Yep. He threw out the statute of limitations and how with that anything after that was still within the time frame to be tried for. And he didn't want to be tried. So he's like, you know what? I'll admit to the ones prior to this time. That way you can't get me for it. Detectives back then didn't give a shit. They booked him and he claimed his name when they were booking him as T.Z. Spaulding. So he's already had 4 names in the story. But again, he would be found out as he still had a Bible on him that his wife had given him that had his real name inscribed inside of it. On the police report, it said that Charles was a person of great endurance. He exhibited genuine wit under most trying circumstances and was extremely proper and polite in behavior. That's why they called him a gentleman.
Right.
Wells Fargo chose not to throw the entire book at him when they pressed charges, seeing as they only pressed charges for the last robbery. But that's why they started putting, bolting them down, was because of him.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of guess that was the case when, 27 other your stagecoaches get fucking robbed.
Yes.
But why did it take 27 stagecoaches for you to figure out bolt the fucking box down? Fucking idiots.
I don't know. Charles was convicted and sentenced to 6 years in the infamous San Quentin prison. He would only serve 4 of those 6 years, though, because he was well behaved, and they released him in January of 1888. Charles's health had begun to deteriorate while he was in prison, and some say it was because of his time in prison that his health declined.
Yeah, would have been my guess as well, too.
Yeah.
They probably weren't very sanitary because prisoners,
Yeah.
1800s.
Yeah. He had aged rapidly, his eyesight was diminishing, and he had gone fully deaf in one of his ears. And you can imagine that upon the news of his release, reporters were there ready to leap and, talk to him.
Right, they are some certain other people, too.
Yeah, they call them paparazzi now.
Well, I was being trying to call them paparazzi. I was just meaning when certain people are, released.
They asked him when he was released if he was going to rob any more stagecoaches, and he smiled at them and said, "No, gentlemen, I'm through with the crime." Charles would never return to his wife after being released from prison, but he did write letters to her. In one of those letters, he said that he was exhausted. He was tired of Wells Fargo shadowing his every move. He said he felt demoralized and wanted to just be away from everyone. In February of 1888, Charles left the Nevada house and disappeared. Detective Hume tracked him all the way to Visalia House Hotel in Visalia. The owner of the hotel said a man with the exact description of Charles had been there. Mm-hmm. He had checked in. He had stayed there. But when they went to find him, the room was empty. He was gone.
Makes me not wonder if he did that to throw them off his trail and went elsewhere under one of his 17,000 other names.
Could be. February 28th, 1888 is the last time anyone saw Black Bart. Well, that anyone knows of. There was a rumor going around that Charles was in Marysville, California near the end of his life and that he was working as a pharmacist. It's believed by many that his gravesite is located in the Marysville Cemetery. Black Bart had also been rumored to have been buried in an unmarked gravesite in Knight's Landing Cemetery in Knight's Landing, California. So nobody really knows where he's buried.
Yeah.
A Wells Fargo detective that played part in Charles's arrest stated in 1897 that he knew for certain that Charles had moved out of the U.S. and was living in Japan. On November 14th, 1888...
We're not that far up the road yet.
On November 14th, 1888, there was yet another Wells Fargo stagecoach that was robbed by a masked man on the highway. This man left a poem behind that read, "So here I've stood while wind and rain have set the trees a-sobbin', and risked my life for that box that wasn't worth the robbin'." Detective Hume, the Wells Fargo detective that was the lead in locating and capturing Black Bart, examined this poem. He compared the handwriting against the 2 poems that were authenticated as being from Black Bart against this third poem. He was confident in declaring that this was, in fact, not Black Bart.
Right.
Just the work of a crazed fan copycat.
Yeah.
So, fun little tiddly bits.
So we're going away from fun facts to tiddly bits now?
Yeah. It's because I wrote the fun bits on here.
Okay.
The fun little tiddly bits.
All right.
Okay, fun facts.
Fun facts.
There is a song by a band that we both like called Volbeat.
Okay.
They have a song named Black Bart, and it is in reference to this Black Bart.
I was kind of wondering about that when you told me they were doing this story this week.
Yep.
Probably should have been obvious because the name of the album was like called Gunslingers and Gunsmoke or something similar to that.
Yep. In Redwood Valley, California, there's an annual Black Bart parade that features a man, just a single man, dressed as Black Bart and mimicking what he assumes a stereotypical Old West villain would act like. Like that would be interesting to see.
I have to see if that's on YouTube because that's got my curiosity.
Yeah.
My first thought was you're going to talk about reenact one of these stagecoach robberies because there is a Bonnie and Clyde festival that does that as well.
Oh no. Not that I found. Not that doesn't exist or has never existed. Just I didn't see anything. There's a large rock on the side of Highway 101 near Redwood Valley that is known by the locals there as Black Bart Rock. Even though it's not the actual rock he had been rumored to have hidden behind while waiting on a stagecoach. But they just assumed because it was in that area that's
right.
the rock. In Duncan Mills, California, there's a plaque commemorating Black Bart and actually shows his first poem left at the fourth robbery.
Which I'm assuming is at that site, or is it just at a random spot? Or the possible spot where it happened.
The fourth, it gave, so it didn't say directly where it was. It would tell me trails that it was on, like between this city and this city. So it's very possible.
It's probably right at Trailhead, probably.
Yeah, very possible that Duncan Mills was the spot that he did it at, and they just, had it as in between here to here. So, but that's it.
That's it?
That's my Black Bart. I only had those few little fun little tiddly bits.
Well, all right then.
All right.
So
Let's talk
I've
about
heard-
snakes and... Well, we're not doing that yet. Okay. Question time.
I've heard of Black Bart before, but never heard that much about him.
Yes.
So,
I thought he was interesting.
yeah.
I loved the fact that he threw those little poems in there, the verses.
Yeah.
The sons of bitches, you fine-haired sons of bitches was the part that got me.
Bitches. But just the look on your face when you're like, did you ever think that maybe P08 was just supposed to play on words of the word poet, and you're just like, son of a bitch.
I did not. I did not. You could be entirely right on the head there, though.
And you're supposed to be the smart one.
No, Mr. Let's change light bulbs outside of the house and answer fucking Jeopardy questions while I do it. I'm not the smart one. I'm the smart ass. You are the noggin smart person in this relationship. I'm smart about the shit I like. You're smart about fucking everything.
Well,
I want to hear about the snake oil and
wait.
medicine shows.
Wait, you're saying it like that because you want the attention taken off of you at this point?
No. I told you in the beginning that I was excited to hear about this.
All right. So, you ready to hear about the snake oil and the medicine shows?
Yes.
All right. So, as you know, well, like movies, anything Wild West related, snake oil salesmen, medicine shows generally come up. There was a previous episode I brought them up and don't remember off the top of my head. I probably should have looked it up.
No, because we have loyal listeners and they will know exactly what episode you're talking about.
I'm sure they will. But
So-
I'm talking about for the new people.
Well, then they need to become loyal people and listen to all of the prior
Well,
episodes.
there's your hint. If you don't remember what episode I talked about medicine shows about for, good luck. Go back to the last 17 episodes and go find it.
That's your cue to listen to all of them.
Again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyhow. P.T. Barnum was most quoted saying, "There's a sucker born every minute." Unlike Black Bart taking money from stagecoaches at gunpoint, and some people like Clark Stanley and many other quote-unquote doctors would have to be a little bit more convincing to get their hands on your hard-earned money. Medicine shows or snake oil salesmen tend to be associated with the Wild West, but they have also been around as far back as the Dark Ages after the church banned theaters. In these times, it was seen as sinful and pagan activity.
Seriously?
Yep. The theaters were associated with the debauchery, violence, and other immoral behaviors. You gotta remember, Dark Ages, church was the law.
Wow, that's true.
So the theater performers would have to take their acts out on the street to perform for money at this point.
Okay.
Hello, Mr.
Sticky
Legalsi,
paws.
as he decides to join us for my portion of this episode.
Yeah.
You gotta behave yourself, hopefully.
Just gonna make sticky spots on the table.
So if you hear sticky cat sounds, I'm sorry about it. You're just gonna have to deal with it.
He's a sweaty pod feline.
Yep.
He's just gonna rub on the mic.
Are you done?
Probably not.
Probably not. Anyhow. These street performers may also be known as shysters or charlatans.
Ooh, shysters.
They were also known as mountebanks or mountbacks. Not sure, couldn't find a pronunciation on it, but Mountebanks. Mountbanks, not sure.
Huh.
One example of a mountebank is the pardoner from the Canterbury Tales who tricks sinners into buying fake religious relics.
Okay.
Most of these mountebanks would travel to smaller and larger cities selling their miracle elixirs with a small street show and miraculous cures. My assumption on these cures would be making a blind man see, or someone with a walking disability able to walk again without a limp, or upright as if nothing was wrong. Is my best
Yeah.
dumbass guess, I guess you should say, uneducated guess, whatever. These traveling peddlers of cure-all or miracle elixirs would start to appear in the American colonies before 1772, when legislators in New Jersey and Connecticut would prohibit them from selling door to door, making them to start traveling and sell their medicines in rural areas. Rural areas they consider probably more or less educated, so it would be easier to get their money out of them.
Okay.
By the 19th century, mountebanks would give away to what's now the medicine show. The rapid growth of patented medicines, or we would more commonly know these as over-the-counter medicines, like Tylenol, for example.
OTCs.
Yeah. By 1858, there was at least 1,500 patent medicines on record since the beginning of the century, which made it much easier for these traveling salesmen to sell a specific product. As most of us have seen in the movies and televisions, they generally would market their product as either a tonic or an elixir. I will admit, though, for the longest time, I just assumed that they actually meant the same thing, and elixir just sounds a little bit more professional, fancy, but there is an actual difference. Tonics, by definition, are a medicinal substance taken to give a feeling of vigor or well-being overall. So, for example, soda pop, or I said soda pop, combine them together, or as I had actually written in here, for example, soda or pop, so nobody can come at me for it, could be considered a tonic, especially the original Coca-Cola formula that contained cocaine.
Why did they ever stop doing that? Just out of curiosity.
Because cocaine became illegal in the United States in the early 1900s.
Oh.
That could be why. But anyhow.
I mean, it could be.
The original, Coca-Cola was also originally marketed as a health drink to cure headaches, neuralgia, or easier known as nerve pain, hysteria, and melancholy. Now, this is where I'm going to kind of burst the soda bubble about the cocaine and Coca-Cola. Each bottle of Coca-Cola syrup, the syrup itself, it contained 3.5 grams of the devil's dandruff for the most part.
Devil's dandruff?
Yeah, that's... You never heard it called that before?
I have never heard it called that. I've heard it called as fucking booger sugar, but never devil's dandruff. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so because in these times, you would have to go to a soda fountain and a pharmacy to get Coca-Cola before it was a bottled product.
Oh, okay.
So they would have the Coca-Cola syrup there mixed with the soda water, and you get that. So your actual Coca-Cola drink, actually, when I looked into this, I forgot to put in there, it said it's like 1/400th of the actual amount of cocaine in that bottle is actually what you would get in this drink.
So basically none.
For the most part, but I'm sure it was still enough to give you a little bit of a, pick me up for the most part. That's why Coca-Cola was advertised as a health drink for the most part. So people want, Coca-Cola put the cocaine back in. It's not going to happen for obvious.
Yeah.
Now, they did use the coca leaf for quite a few years afterwards, after it went through the decocaining process.
Decocaining the Coke?
Yeah. As weird as that sounds. Another one of these popular sodas or pops, soft drinks, whatever you want to call it.
Fizzy drink.
Fizzy drink. That was also considered a health tonic is Dr. Pepper.
Oh.
Yeah, because there was an old slogan to drinking pepper at 10, 2, and 4. Because it was basically to drink one at 10 in the morning, noon, and at 4 o'clock to keep you awake throughout your day so you weren't feeling sluggish for the most part. Which, probably, most of that sugar really was probably what's doing you fucking in.
Right.
But elixirs, though, they are more of a botanical or plant-based and are created for one specific type of ailment, such as the common cold. Elixirs are sweeter than their tonic counterparts. For example, medicine with bubblegum flavoring we would get as a kid would be considered like an elixir. Because I couldn't find a common everyday product like Coca-Cola or Dr. Pepper to give you an example. That was the first thing I could come up with.
And that bubblegum shit was delicious.
Reading, the by definition on what an elixir is. That was the best I could come up with. But like tonics were overall. Elixirs, one specific thing.
Gotcha.
By the 1900s, patent medicines were an $80 million business, even though most of these medicines seldomly treated what they were marketed for. Instead of having stimulants and actual medications that mostly contain alcohol, opiums, and cocaine commonly, which in turn would get consumers addicted and to continue to buy them.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I mean, because, as they say, modern medicine's not in the business to curing patients, they're in the business of creating patients for the most part. So it's been going on for over 100 years.
I mean, you put the rum in the coconut.
And you shake it all up.
Yeah, like, I would definitely drink some fucking coconut water at that point.
One of these most well-known medicines sold by one of these shows was Sagwa from the Kickapoo Indian Medicine Company.
Oh, speaking of Kickapoo, that is a fantastic Tenacious D song.
I was wondering if you weren't going to bring that up the first time I said this word. They claimed that Sagwa was a blood, liver, and stomach regulator, and it also would cure consumption, headache, torpid liver, which would mean it's an inactive liver for the most part, and biliousness. I tried to fucking figure out how to say this word forever, and I couldn't. But it has to do with bile functions of your body for the most part. They would pitch it as genuine Native American remedy. Okay, he's gonna have to fucking go. He's been fine up until he started rubbing on shit. Sorry, buddy. Gotta get off the shop counter today. They would pitch it as a genuine Native American remedy, which of course was total bullshit considering Kickapoo medicine was founded by 2 white men. They would make these claims that Sagwa was made from Urvasi gursi, mandrake, rhubarb, senna, anise seeds, coriander seeds, shinaka bark, yellow dock, burdock, dandelion, cassacra, licorice, and aloes. Yeah, it's the longest list of what they claimed what was all in there.
Okay.
But it was really just a mixture of grain alcohols, beers, and laxatives.
Seriously?
Yep.
Wow, so they were just fucking shysters back then, huh?
They would even enlist the help of showman Buffalo Bill of the Buffalo Bill Wild West show to sell Sagwa by claiming Indians would soon be without his horse, gun, or blanket as without Sagwa.
Wow.
These medicine shows were also a popular form of entertainment as these self-proclaimed doctors would give their sales pitch on their cure-alls or health device that they were trying to sell. Most of these were performed outdoors from their wagons or tents or inside of a theater. They would pitch their products, would work more than likely along with planted testimonials in their crowd and they gathered to watch. So you'd have some random guy like, yeah, it was, it's worked wonders for me.
Yeah.
I was bald a week ago and now I got a full head of hair, when he's really had a full head of hair his entire life.
Right.
They would also create a fake fear or need for these unique medicines. Was their only cure to keep this from happening. It's like kind of like some of the COVID-19, things you've seen out there after so long, just all the bullshit remedies people were trying to sell.
Like drinking Lysol.
Well, I'm not saying like those, but you see random ad bullshit.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
That was, the scammer ads you see on Facebook for the most part. They would alternate with using entertainment and sales pitches to wear down their audiences to finally give in and buy their products. They would use the combinations of musicians, strongman, dogs doing tricks, etc. Anything of entertainment value of some sort as a break in between doing their sales pitch. Most of these shows would only spend one night in these towns and move on to the next before people realized that what they sold never worked as intended. One of these pitches might have sounded something similar to this. How much is your health worth, ladies and gentlemen? It's priceless, isn't it? Well, my friends, $1/2 is all it takes to put you in the pink. That's right, ladies and gents. For 50 pennies, nature's true remedy will succeed where doctors have failed. Only nature can heal, and I have the nature right here in this little bottle. My secret formula from God's own laboratory, the earth itself, will cure rheumatism, cancer, diabetes, baldness, bad breath, and curvature of the spine. And then, these pitches would go on much longer than this. That's just a small clip of what it would sound like. And probably would have one of these testimonials jump in at some point.
And these people were just like, fucking sweet, we're going to do this and we're going to be healthy and healed. Wow.
But by 1906, medicine shows started to fade out as the Pure Food and Drug Act would lay the groundwork for the FDA that we know today.
Yeah.
Some of these medicine shows went on until the 1930s, but for more as a form of entertainment. They weren't selling their bullshit medicines anymore. The name just kind of stuck with them for the most part. Some of these shows would actually last up until the 1950s and would come to an end in competition with advertisements on televisions, and medicine shows would be considered a relic of a much more innocent era. Clark Stanley's snake oil liniment would be one of the first bullshit concoctions to fall to the newly passed act in 1906.
Okay.
After ripping off a healing salve used by Chinese immigrants made from water snakes in their home country, which actually worked because of omega-3 acids that was found in this Chinese water snake.
Yeah.
That would reduce inflammation. So the Chinese immigrants actually had one that worked. He took the whole idea of that from there and made his bullshit. In 1879, this is where he would make his claim that after working as a cowboy and with a Hopi medicine man for 2 years that he had learned the secret of snake oil. Stanley would first market his product at the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago. His audience would watch as he would take a live snake from a bag, slice it open, and toss the snake into a boiling pot. And then he would proceed to skim the oil left behind on the surface of water, bottle it, and sell it to his audience. In the middle, probably while the snake's boiling, he's going through all of his bullshit about, this will cure, you having a third leg growing out of your back, some stupid shit or whatever. I do have a list of some of his stuff, but his was like super fucking long, so I was not putting them all in here.
Yeah.
His snake oil would have a long list of cures. Some of his cures that were listed would be toothaches, sprains, swelling, sore throat, animal bites, lumbago, lower back pain, even frostbite, and the list actually goes on and on and on. Like, there's an image that would come up quite a bit, and like 2/3 of both sides of this ad was just a list of fucking ailments that his snake oil would actually cure.
Okay.
So, with a lot of these patent medicines were killing off people, and that would cause the act that created the FDA. When his snake oil was tested, They actually found it to be fatty compounds of beef, mineral oil, capsaicin from chili peppers, and turpentine.
Turpentine?
Yep. Which turpentine is actually used as a fragrance in perfumes and cleaning products, but people were taking these orally as well too. So
Right, it's not to be ingested.
right, but he didn't care. He got your 50 cents or whatever you were paying for a bottle of this shit.
Damn.
So he would actually be fined for $20, which came out to be like $575 today on that. So with a little bit of a fun fact section like you did, I have representations of medicine shows in like kind of pulp culture. So like the first one that sticks into my head is, I think, one of the early missions on Red Dead Redemption 2. You're hired by the local sheriff to go find the snake oil salesman for all these specific reasons, because somebody died taking one of them. So he sends Arthur off. Arthur goes off to go find the snake oil salesman, which eventually falls off a cliff, and you have to chase after him down a river and lasso him out of the river. And then,
Question.
yes,
Did they give him his own snake oil to drink to, like, fix his broken bones after falling off the cliff?
from what I remember watching from the cutscene the other day to refresh my memory on it, no, that didn't happen. Arthur lassos him out of a river, hog ties him, takes him back, and just tells the guy to shut up constantly on riding back to the jailhouse.
But speaking of Red Dead Redemption, there's supposed to be a character in Red Dead Redemption 2, I believe it said,
Yeah,
that is based off of Black Bart. But in the game, it is not. He is not called Black Bart.
right. Oh, I'll have to look into that later.
Yeah.
The 1983 music video for Say, Say, Say with Michael Jackson and Paul McCartney play the roles of snake oil salesmen selling a miracle potion, but they later donate the money to an orphanage by the end of the music video.
Oh, how sweet.
It's the movie, film adaptation of Sweeney Todd portrayed in London. You know, there's a medicine show that goes on, including the song titled Pirelli's Miracle Elixir, which depicts a musical advertisement for a miracle cure to grow hair. There's also several bands that go by the name Medicine Show. There's like Old Crow Medicine Show, Dr. West Medical Show. You probably have heard the song called Cover of Rolling Stone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the name of that band is Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show.
Oh, okay.
So that's just a couple names of bands that have gone by that song. Cher has performed a song called Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves, and the story of the girl whose family runs the medicine show as well. And this list could probably go on and on. Keep thinking Wild Wild West with Will Smith in it. As goofy as that movie was,
yeah, I know.
there probably was one in there, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But like I said, spaghetti westerns at the beginning with spaghetti westerns in any types.
Yeah.
There's always one. I'm surprised there hasn't been one that popped up in Hard West that I've been playing recently.
Oh. Well, you mean you're not done with the game, so
I'm not.
it
So
could happen.
Could be. So who knows? Huh. Well, yeah, that's a little bit on that, but because of all of this bullshit concoctions and whatnot, the term snake oil salesman now basically, comes up when speaking about politicians or somebody being a fraud of some sort.
That doesn't surprise me at all. Not at all.
So you kind of could say that Black Bart himself was kind of a snake oil salesman himself.
Kind of.
Before he started robbing stagecoaches, being the way he presented himself.
Living well beyond his means. Yeah.
So,
you could say that.
But
that was
a little more positive thing about that, during the production of a very particular Disney movie, which I'm not going to tell you yet, that one of the composers, if I remember correctly, was having writer's block. And one of his children came home and found out they had a vaccination at school today. And he's like, "How was your shot?" And he said, "It wasn't a shot. It was a drop of medicine on a sugar cube." Ding, light bulb goes off for the song. A spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. In Mary Poppins.
No way.
Yep.
Huh. I never would have connected that. That's fun.
So, yeah.
And we don't have sponsors, but because we're talking Outlaws and back then, you know, spaghetti westerns, blah, 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 there's a company that makes a cologne that you wear that smells so good.
No, I can't remember the name of the goddamn company because I cleaned my desk off.
It's called Outlaw.
Fucking know that.
But their smells are very, very awesome. They're very manly smells, so I would say it's definitely more of a men's fragrance, body soap, deodorant kind of line.
I remember there's the Calamity Jane one.
Calamity Jane also smells fucking fantastic. What is it? What was it? Cloves and orange, I believe.
If I remember correctly, yeah.
Yeah. I got that one for me. It smells amazing. But yeah, it made me think of the Outlaw stuff.
Yeah. Probably the Gambler, which is the one that I have.
Oh, God, yes. And I'm sure he can attest that every time he sprays that on himself and walks out into the living room and it hits my nose, like I'm immediately like looking at him and smiling because he smells delicious.
I don't know, maybe we'll be like, they listen and be like, let's sponsor them.
But yeah, check those people out because they're not a huge name yet.
I mean, yeah, it's all cold crafted soaps and they make everything themselves. Yes, it's it's $8 for a bar of soap, but you're getting good shit.
Oh yeah, it's definite quality. The stuff that you had gotten, isn't that snake? Didn't they name it snake oil something?
No, there was I think you're thinking of is my hair and beard elixir that I have that says it's no snake oil on the label.
It probably is, yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to check when we're done.
Yeah. I know it smells good.
Yeah, it's more of a woodsy smell for the hair and beard stuff. But,
definitely manly.
Yeah.
But it smells good either way.
Yeah. My first thing that caught my attention about them was that, we're using the smell of gunpowder as a fucking scent for soap. I was like, what?
Yeah. And that's one of the things with them is that they use very obscure smells that work really well together.
Yeah. But
yeah, the gunpowder one was a different smell that you wouldn't expect to see in
campfire and gun smoke or something, or gunpowder, I think is what it was called. That one's called Fire in the Hole. Yeah. So anyhow,
they've all smelled good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Should look in and see what they got. I haven't looked at them in like over a year.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, I haven't bought any of their stuff in like forever.
Oh.
But anyhow. Huh. But I'm starting to think it's time we close the Emporium up for today, Sarah. What do you think?
I agree.
So until next time,
remember to creep it real. Please check out our website at macabreemporiumpodcast.com. Join our Facebook group by searching Macabre Emporium. Like and subscribe on YouTube at Macabre Emporium Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Macabre Emporium. And if you have any stories of the paranormal, your local true crime, or weird history that you would want us to look into and possibly do an episode on, email us at macabreemporiumpod@gmail.com. Remember to follow, rate, like, review, and share whenever and wherever you can and help us grow our little baby podcast.
But also another popular drink hitting the floor as
did you hear a sticky ass pause? Go see. You're a fucking hot mess.
Anyhow.
You are so stupid.